Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Ellis Ross is keeping an eye on the implications of Bill C-5, CN Rail teamed up with the City of Terrace to promote Rail Safety Week, and John Rustad reveals tactics used against him during the Conservative leadership vote.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cael Maslin, and here's what's making news in the Northwest and beyond today. MP for Skeena-Bulkley Valley Ellis Ross is on Parliament Hill this week, but before leaving, Ross said he'd be keeping an eye on the implications of Bill C-5.
Will they use Bill C-5 to override environmental assessments? Will they do it to override provinces or First Nations interests or workers' interests? But also I'll be looking to see how does Canada, the Canadian government, fulfill their promise of becoming an energy superpower. I don't know how you do that, because right now you're sending 95% of your oil and gas to the United States at a discount. So if you're going to get off the dependence and selling your resources at a discount rate, you got to find other markets, and you've got to entertain the idea of oil and gas pipelines alongside your solar, your wind. I mean, I'm looking at the major projects they're listing out, and they're listing off projects that have been on the books for the last 10 years. It's nothing new. And no investor, like we checked the environmental assessment site for Canada, nobody has filed any applications for any new projects. Now maybe they're thinking that they'll file it with the new major projects office that they established. But that actually raises a whole pile of different questions. Like, how are Canadians supposed to feel at ease knowing that all these projects will be assessed to protect the environment and to be open and transparent and accountable? Not only to Canadian citizens, but to taxpayers.
One of Canada's main rail companies is collaborating with a northwestern BC city to show people ways they can remain safe whenever they're near rail lines. CN Rail has spent the past few days promoting this ongoing week as Rail Safety Week, an annual event held in September that is dedicated to reminding the general public how important rail safety is, in addition to pointing out the risks in trespassing in rail yards and not following rail crossing signs. The rail company has teamed up with many communities all over Canada for this week, with the City of Terrace being included in that group as well, which makes sense considering how the city's main rail line is set up.
Obviously, when we talk about rail safety, the concern of the rail yard being in the middle of our town is always top of mind. We've got the one overpass and we've got the level crossing, and we've had some fatalities over the years of people crossing through the yard. So we're always asking CN to do more and do better and make sure that people are safe when it comes to their trains.
Terrace Mayor Sean Bouitosh also had some potential ideas on what CN Rail could do in order to improve safety measures around rails in the community.
I would hope that CN would work with higher levels of government and work on ways to increase the ability for people to cross the tracks. I think on a big wish is a second overpass in our community at some point, but I think pedestrian crossings in other locations than just the one we have, and at least beefing up the one we have. So it would be nice if both the province, CN, and maybe the federal government work together in making our community safer that way.
But even with those potential improvements, practicing ways to stay safe when going by train tracks, like not getting unnecessarily close to any tracks or crossings, listening for potentially approaching trains, and looking both ways before going through a crossing are still important. Anyone who notices an unsafe situation near a railroad is asked to call the CN police phone number at 1-800-465-9239. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin. A scheduled home opener for the CIHL between the Kitimat Ice Demons and Terrace River Kings was postponed. The game was set to happen this Saturday at the Terrace Sportsplex, and the River Kings are holding an alumni game instead, with tickets being $5 at the door. In a release, the Ice Demons said they're working closely with the River Kings to reschedule the game and thanked the fans and community for their patience and understanding. Now we look to the turmoil in the BC Conservative Party surrounding its leader, John Rustad. The leadership review vote has been happening regionally for months and will conclude in the Okanagan this weekend. Tonight, Rustad reveals tactics being used against him in a campaign. CTV's Rob Buffa reports.
This was the start of the months-long leadership review back in June. John Rustad's caucus physically showing their support. Now, days from the end of that review, that support less certain.
Kind of normal in every family to have squabbles. Everybody's going to say, there's a few people that think they can do a better job.
The BC Conservatives leadership review has traveled the province. Tonight, the vote is in Kelowna, where the venue was changed to this hotel to accommodate a large influx of party members. Many apparently encouraged to vote against him, including with this banner expected to be set up across from the hotel. Loyal colleagues reject that Rustad's in trouble.
I think John is just fine. John is the leader we need right now.
Rustad's seemingly precarious hold on leadership fueled by a controversy over improper memberships in Kelowna. The party acknowledging 2,100 bogus memberships were discovered, noting, during an internal audit, we identified what we believe to be manufactured memberships. All of them were identified and promptly canceled. This is, unfortunately, all too common in leadership races and reviews for most parties. We are implementing new security systems to ensure this doesn't happen again. Premier Eby weighed in earlier this week.
Unbelievable allegations coming out. They are not fit to govern.
The plot thickens with more allegations. Rustad told me today there appears to be a breach of the BC Conservatives database with texts and emails sent to members in Kelowna attacking him and telling people not to vote for him. The review concludes Saturday in a Soyuz. The results will be known Monday, with Rustad's caucus meeting that night. Whether the mood is as jovial as the early days seems unlikely.
Coming up next, the Port of Vancouver is being pressured to do something about their container trucks. Welcome back. Pressure is building on the Port of Vancouver to do something about the flow of large container trucks going through residential neighborhoods in East Vancouver. CTV's Mark McMahon has more.
What we're dealing with here, especially on these residential streets, is just a shocking amount of container truck traffic.
Getting a bit of peace as a young mother is hard enough at the best of times. But with truck after truck rolling toward the port outside Michelle Brown Callistro's apartment on Dundas in East Vancouver, she's had enough.
They shake the floors of our house, they shake the windows. You can't sleep in the mornings, you can't concentrate, kids wake up from naps.
Brown Callistro's online petition has nearly 900 signatures, calling for a reopening of the Clark Drive entrance. It's been closed on and off since 2011, more recently in 2021, diverting traffic into more residential areas. Vancouver City Councillor Lisa Dominato's motion calling on the port to make changes passed unanimously this week.
And again, it may be a partial reopening of the Clark Drive overpass. Maybe it's a full reopening, looking at staggered schedules so that those inbound container trucks can use that route instead of going over to Commissioner. But I'm trying to be optimistic that the port wants to play ball.
Alexandra Hughes lives across the street with her young family. She has concerns about noise and safety, saying there have been objects coming off the trucks.
It's just horrifying. What if that hit my son? I can't even imagine what I would do. And they just drive by, they don't even know what's happened.
I have a hard time staying at home during the day. I have to take the kids out. I keep the windows closed all the time, year-round. With a lot of air purifiers running, I'm really concerned about the diesel exhaust.
The port declined our request for an interview, but says in a statement that early monitoring indicates that trucks make up a minority of commercial traffic on Dundas.
In the meantime, Brown Callistro and families like hers are left to wait and listen as the trucks continue to roll by. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
Vancouver City Council voted on a motion to establish vertical farms in underutilized spaces like office buildings and apartments. CTV's Craig Cross now on how one business has the technology to do it.
So we're growing a variety of crops, all leafy greens and herbs.
Step inside to what could be the future of farming in urban centers.
So what are we looking at here?
So this is a butterhead lettuce.
Row after row of produce growing inside a room in a Vancouver building. A system developed by Alicia Vandergraat.
Because as long as you keep this moist, the plant stays alive.
No droughts, no pests, and limited travel to consumers.
We want to be as close to consumption as possible so that we can really reduce the transit time of our produce and make sure it's as fresh and nutritious as possible.
A system catching the attention of Vancouver City Councillor Lucy Maloney.
I moved a motion with Councillor Orr to try and streamline business approvals process for vertical farming businesses.
Going to a vote Wednesday night.
And committee members, if you could please register your vote.
Passing unanimously. A step forward for operators to potentially use underutilized spaces in the city for vertical farms, in the hopes it creates more jobs, reduces waste, and allows the city to chop its dependence on foreign markets.
There's a real hunger for local products. I think that recent events in the United States and our relationship with the United States have really prompted people to think about where their food comes from.
Now, with city staff tasked with how this would work before coming back to council, Vandergraat and her team want to make something clear.
We don't see this as taking the place of traditional farming, but supplementing traditional farming.
Craig Crow, CTV News, Vancouver.
A 400-year-old tree in Stanley Park was cut down after it was deemed dead and a public safety concern. Now grassroots activists are speaking out on the decision. CTV's Yasmin Gandam reports.
This is what's left of a 400-year-old Douglas fir, mere remnants of what the Stanley Park Preservation Society says was a symbol of Vancouver's history.
This is the first that I've seen it in real life, and it's just devastating.
The tree was cut down in the past month by the city of Vancouver. The 30-meter-tall Douglas fir, now wood chips on the ground.
Well, they've taken thousands of trees. They've taken thousands of hemlock trees that were not individually assessed as dangerous.
The Preservation Society hired 2 independent risk assessors who say so far it looks like it was standing safe and sound.
If you were to go and look at the flat top, you would see that the flat top is sound. There's no decay in the heartwood.
Inspectors say there was no reason to declare the tree dangerous, but the city says otherwise. In a statement to CTV News, the park board states the Douglas fir was removed after a rainstorm on August 15th. The statement says the tree was dead, and large sections of bark hung over the trail, posing a significant safety risk.
So far, it was the wrong decision, but we haven't completed the testing yet. We're halfway through our testing. Our sounding indicates the tree is safe and sound.
The Preservation Society says it will continue to fight tooth and nail to maintain the history of the iconic park.
We want transparency from the City of Vancouver, from the Parks and Recreation Department, and from the Park Board.
Yasmin Gandam, CTV News, Vancouver.
And now for a look at both your nightly and weekly weather forecast. On the north coast, the night will see heavy rain at times and a low at 14 degrees, with the rest of the week being very rainy as well, with the high bouncing from 15 to 12 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, tonight also expects a fair bit of rain and a low at 12 degrees, while the upcoming week projects to be super rainy as well, with the high shifting from 11 to 14 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, their night is predicted to get a chance of showers with the low at 10 degrees, and their week will also consist of pretty much all rain, as their own high moves from 15 to 11 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. Highway 16 has construction work, bridge maintenance, utility work, ditching, other maintenance plan, road maintenance work, paving operations, a special event, roadside brushing plant, and the Usk Ferry is currently out of service. Highway 35 has bridge maintenance, Highway 37 has bridge construction work, and ditching. Highway 37A is still dealing with falling rocks between west of Isiadin and east of Stewart, and the Nishka Highway has some mowing. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the View of the Province's highway cams. Still to come, some major grocery chains are facing false claims accusations. Welcome back. Following trade tensions with the U.S., many shoppers are looking to buy Canadian products, but some major stores have been accused of maple washing, claiming that Ford products are actually Canadian. CTV's Pat Foran has more.
You see them all over grocery store aisles and shelves, maple leaves, made in Canada labels, or signage urging you to buy Canadian. Dave, a Toronto shopper who asked us to hide his identity as he searches for misleading advertising, just noticed two questionable products.
We saw that a bag of onions were mislabeled and the green beans were also mislabeled.
Dave found green beans for sale marked as a product of Canada, but on closer inspection on the bag it says product of Guatemala. In another case, he saw a bag of red onions for sale, also sold as a product of Canada. Not the case. On the bag, it says product of Egypt.
We've seen many cases where the maple leaf was used to inflate prices, and frankly, a lot of products were labeled in a way that it was actually quite misleading.
Following complaints, a Quebec law firm has filed a class action lawsuit against major grocery chains including Provigo, Sobeys, Metro, and Walmart.
This is actually false representation or false advertising.
Lawyer Joey Zucron says grocers are using false advertising to take advantage of consumers who want to support Canadian products.
The only conclusion is that it's to make profit and it's to take advantage of vulnerable consumers who are at a disadvantage vis-a-vis the information that the grocer has.
The class action seeks compensation for customers. Sylvain Charlebois says earlier in the year there was labeling confusion and adjustments required time, but he says by now mislabeling should be considered unacceptable.
There's just zero tolerance for this now.
Dave says he plans to keep looking for maple washing errors because he wants to support Canadian producers.
We personally want to support these local Canadian farmers. I want to make sure that the product I'm getting is actually from Canada.
The class action has been filed, but has not yet been authorized in court. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Vancouver police tracked down the man who stole a beloved helmet from the BC Sports Hall of Fame. As CTV's Isabella Zavarisi reports, the late Greg Moore's family is grateful.
Thank you so much, guys.
Relief, as a priceless piece of Canadian motorsport history is recovered.
A week ago, I honestly didn't think this moment would happen.
On September 3rd, Maple Ridge racing legend Greg Moore's helmet was stolen from the BC Hall of Fame, leaving Moore's family and the museum reeling.
I think it's safe to say that this was a crime of opportunity.
It took the Vancouver Police Department 9 days and extensive video review to track down a 39-year-old man on the downtown east side. He was arrested for theft over $5,000 and possession of stolen property.
Something like that's also harder to move because it has value just to certain people, and if they try to sell it and move it, we would hopefully know about it.
A little bit emotional actually, because we didn't think this helmet was coming back, so this is a really great day.
The helmet was loaned to the museum by Moore's family. He wore it during his 1998 victory in Brazil. Tragically, Moore died at only 24 years old. His legacy immortalized in the museum.
He was going to be great, and so I think it's a little bit of that, that potential and promise that was never able to be fulfilled.
Since the theft, the Hall of Fame has made changes. There's now a strict no-bag policy and more frequent walkthroughs from staff.
And with his fist in the air, he takes the checkered flag.
The museum says it was blown away by the public's support.
You never want to see anybody have things stolen or hurt in any way, but someone that was a true nice person and respected like Greg, I think that's where that reaction came from.
October marks the anniversary of Moore's death, a somber month. But there's now some comfort knowing a piece of who he was is in its rightful place. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
A groundbreaking implant is transforming spinal cord injury patients' lives. It addresses a serious complication, unstable blood pressure. CTV's Kathy Lee on an Alberta man who says it changed his life.
3 years ago, a car crash stole Cody Krebs' ability to walk.
A semi-truck blew a stop sign and T-boned me. That resulted in me breaking my neck.
But through the challenges, his partner Kiana, always present with unyielding devotion.
She's the strongest person that I know. Yeah, without her I wouldn't be near where I am now.
In this moment, the 32-year-old's life much improved thanks to a new device implanted in his spine that helps to regulate his blood pressure. The inability to do that, a common problem for patients with spinal cord injuries.
This is because the spinal cord is disconnected from the brain, which is responsible for controlling blood pressure.
I get really lightheaded and dizzy, and like my ears can start ringing.
The breakthrough technology used in a clinical trial Krebs was part of, the research led by teams from several universities worldwide, including the University of Calgary.
It delivers a low electrical current to the spinal cord and basically replaces the signal that the brain would normally give to the body to control the blood pressure.
The implant has American Health Agency, the FDA, approval for another trial involving 20 research centers across Canada, Europe, and the United States. For Krebs, it's been life-changing.
It's helped me kind of get back into work and stuff too, because I'm not exhausted all the time.
With more energy, that means he can start to focus on figuring out life again.
Take it day by day, I guess.
With his biggest support by his side. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
And now we turn our attention to how the stock markets look today compared to yesterday. The Canadian dollar is up 5/100ths of a cent, the price of gold is up $27.50, oil is down 86 cents, natural gas is down 3 cents, aluminum is up $2.50, in Toronto the TSX is up 314.83 points, the Venture Index is up 25.29, in New York the Dow Jones is up 172.83, and Nasdaq is up 160.75. Still ahead is a look at an orca attack that might not have been what it seemed. Welcome back. To a costly encounter off the coast of Portugal, an orca took down a boat which some called an attack, but others say they're just playing. ABC's Morgan Norwood reports.
This frightening video shows a pod of orcas attacking a tourist sailboat off Portugal. The so-called killer whales repeatedly ramming the vessel, eventually sinking it. Several people had to be rescued. Later that day, the same pod reportedly attacking another boat. It's the latest in a series of aggressive acts by orcas, which can grow as long as 30 feet and weigh up to 6 tons. Some 700 incidents have been reported in recent years, most off Spain and Portugal. In 2023, this orca ripping off a boat's rudder with its teeth. And last year, this $128,000 yacht was taken down by a pod of orcas in the Mediterranean.
All of a sudden, I felt a really loud bang on the back of the boat, and I could feel sort of like a scraping. They carried on attacking and biting the rudder.
Robert Powell and his crew were sailing to Greece when he says at least 5 killer whales attacked his boat. He believes the orcas, known for their intelligence, knew exactly what they were doing.
They knew the weakness of the boat. They knew where to hit it.
But many scientists say orcas are not targeting humans, and the incidents are not meant to be aggressive. Instead, they claim it's most likely just bored teenage orcas having fun and mimicking each other.
Research suggests because tuna, orcas' main food source, is more abundant these days, the orcas have more time to spend playing instead of hunting. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New York.
That's all our news for CFTK-TV News. I'm Cael Maslin. Thanks for watching.